In the middle of the ocean, a violent storm batters a ship carrying a young family. The desperate father struggles to save his wife and baby by lowering them into a lifeboat. The ship is sinking fast, but somehow the family manages to escape and survive the wreck. By morning, they wash up on an unknown shore and decide to build a shelter high up in the trees to keep themselves safe. Deep in the African jungle, a family of gorillas is settling down for the night. Kala, a caring mother gorilla, rests peacefully with her mate Kerchak, the powerful leader of their clan, and their baby. But while they sleep, their curious little one wanders off to chase a colorful frog and suddenly comes face to face with Sabor, a dangerous leopard who kills the baby gorilla instantly. Kala is heartbroken that she couldn't protect her child in time, but then she hears the sound of a crying human baby coming from somewhere in the forest. She follows the sound and discovers the treehouse where the shipwrecked family had built their shelter. The scene is terrible. The shelter is destroyed, and the couple is already dead, killed by Sabor. Kala sees Sabor's paw prints everywhere and hears the baby crying again. She finds the infant hidden safely in a wooden box where his parents had protected him. Even though Kala realizes this is not a gorilla baby, but a human child, she decides to adopt him as her own son. But suddenly Sabor appears again, trying to kill the baby. Kala fights bravely to protect the child, managing to escape by swinging on the lifeboat that hangs outside the treehouse and trapping Sabor with some rope. She takes the baby back to her clan to show them what she has rescued. When Kala returns with the human infant, all the gorillas look confused and don't understand what this strange creature is. Kala explains to Kerchak that she saved the baby from Sabor, but Kerchak firmly tells her that this child cannot replace the son they lost because he is not their kind. He orders Kala to take the baby back to the jungle, but she refuses, which makes Kerchak very angry. He doesn't want her to keep this baby because he thinks it might be dangerous for their clan. However, Kala insists so strongly that Kerchak finally allows her to keep the child, especially when she tells him that the baby's family was also killed by Sabor. But Kerchak still won't accept the baby as his own son, which makes Kala very sad. That night, as the clan settles down, Kala gives the baby a name, Tarzan. When little Tarzan starts crying, she comforts him and promises to protect him from all harm. She carries Tarzan to the top of a tall tree where they rest together for the night. Many years pass, and Tarzan grows into a young, energetic boy. He shows Kala how he can imitate a leopard's movements, but then he accidentally runs into Kerchak, who is not happy to see him at all. Luckily, Tarzan's best friend Turk shows up to help him get away from Kerchak's anger. Turk warns Tarzan that if he wants Kerchak to like him, he should try to stay out of the silverback's way. Just then, Turk's other friends ask her to come see the last dung beetle with him, and Tarzan really wants to join them too. Turk agrees to let Tarzan come along, but only if he can keep up with their fast pace. Turk doesn't think Tarzan will be able to do it, which really hurts his feelings. When they reach their destination, Tarzan manages to arrive right behind them, and Turk's friends are surprised to see him there. Tarzan reminds them that Turk said he could come if he kept up, but Turk's friends are disappointed because they didn't want Tarzan tagging along. Turk tries to handle the situation smoothly and tells Tarzan that while she would love to hang out with him, her other friends need some convincing first. She gives Tarzan what seems like an impossible challenge, to go get hair from an elephant, thinking he won't be able to do it and will have to go back home. Turk assumes Tarzan has given up and left, but suddenly he surprises everyone by running and jumping off a cliff to dive into the river below. Turk's friend is actually impressed by Tarzan's bravery and tells Turk to bring him around more often, as long as he makes it back alive. In the river, a young elephant named Tantor tries to warn his mother about what he thinks is a piranha in the water, but his mother tells him there are no piranhas in Africa. Soon after, Tarzan grabs onto the adult male elephant's tail, and the elephants panic, thinking he really is a piranha. They rush through the jungle in fear, almost trampling a baby gorilla in the process. Fortunately, Kerchak is there to save the baby gorilla just in time. Turk pulls Tarzan out of the river and begs him to stay conscious. When Tarzan wakes up, he proudly shows Turk that he successfully got the elephant hair. But then Kala arrives, worried that Tarzan might have been hurt. Tarzan admits it was his fault, and Kerchak blames him for almost getting someone killed. Kala tries to defend Tarzan, saying he's still just a child, but Kerchak responds that being young is no excuse. He's tired of Kala always defending Tarzan and tells her that Tarzan will never learn from his mistakes. Worst of all, Kerchak declares that Tarzan will never truly be one of them. Hearing these harsh words, Tarzan runs away into the jungle. He looks at his reflection in the water and feels disappointed that he was born so different from everyone else. He tries covering himself with mud to look more like a gorilla, but Kala finds him and gently washes it off. She encourages him to be himself, explaining that they all have the same basic body parts and that Tarzan isn't really that different from the gorillas. She tells Tarzan that Kerchak just doesn't see him the same way the rest of them do, and Tarzan promises that he will make Kerchak understand someday. Day after day, Tarzan works hard to improve himself and become more like the gorillas, learning to do everything they do in their daily lives. 10 years pass, and Tarzan has grown into a strong adult who has become faster and more agile than any gorilla, able to travel through the trees by surfing from branch to branch at incredible speeds. One day, Tarzan tries to sneak up and surprise Kala like he used when he was younger, but she already knows he's there. Turk jumps on him, and they start wrestling playfully as usual, which annoys Kerchak. Suddenly, Tarzan smells something dangerous in the jungle, and Sabor appears out of nowhere to attack the gorillas. Kerchak tries to fight off the leopard, but gets badly beaten. Just as Sabor is about to deliver the finishing blow, Tarzan jumps into the battle and kicks Sabor away from Kerchak. In the end, Tarzan manages to kill Sabor. Everyone cheers for Tarzan's victory, and he presents Sabor's dead body to Kerchak, who finally shows him some respect. But then there's a loud noise coming from somewhere far in the jungle, which makes the gorillas want to leave the area. However, this strange sound makes Tarzan curious, so he goes to investigate what it could be. When Tarzan reaches the source of the noise, he finds a shotgun shell on the ground, and soon encounters 3 humans: Professor Porter, his daughter Jane, and their guide Clayton. Professor Porter has come to study gorillas and is excited to find evidence of gorilla nests, explaining that gorillas are social creatures who live in family groups. But Clayton laughs at the mention of family groups, saying that gorillas are wild beasts who would tear their heads off immediately if they saw them. As the group continues exploring, Jane notices a baby baboon and starts drawing him in her sketchbook. But because she's not being careful enough, the baboon steals her book and runs away with it. Jane chases after him and retrieves most of the pages, but the baboon gets upset when she takes back the drawing she made of him, which causes his whole family to chase after her. In this dangerous moment, Tarzan rescues Jane and tries to get her to safety. After a wild chase through the trees, he brings her to the top of a tall tree, which makes the baboons give up and retreat. Tarzan then takes the drawing and gives it to the baboon, communicating with him in the animal language. Jane is amazed because she can't believe Tarzan just talked to a monkey. But when Tarzan approaches her to examine what kind of creature she is, he realizes that she's human, just like him. Jane is surprised to discover that Tarzan can speak, though at first she thinks he's just repeating what she says rather than truly understanding. When they hear a gunshot in the distance, Jane asks Tarzan to take her back to her camp, and he immediately agrees to help her. While Tarzan is away, Turk and Tanta search everywhere in the jungle, trying to find him. They eventually come across Professor Porter's camp, and, having no idea what it is, decide to go inside to look for Tarzan. They find all the strange human objects fascinating and start playing with them for their own amusement, breaking plates, tearing pages from books, and destroying everything in the camp. When Tarzan and Jane arrive, her camp is already completely messed up. Jane is amazed to actually see gorillas and realizes that Tarzan must be living with them as well. At that moment, Kerchak also arrives at the camp and appears behind Jane, trying to scare her away. However, he doesn't actually harm her and leaves immediately when they hear Professor Porter and Clayton returning. Tarzan hesitates to leave Jane because he seems fascinated by her, but Kala drags him away from the camp. When Professor Porter returns, Jane excitedly tells him about how she was chased by an army of baboons and rescued by an ape man, and how she actually got to meet real gorillas. Back at their nest, Kerchak announces to the clan that they must avoid all contact with the humans, but Tarzan argues with him, insisting that the humans mean no harm to the gorillas. Kerchak responds that while Tarzan might be willing to risk everyone's safety, he certainly is not. Tarzan wonders why Kerchak always sees everyone who is different as a threat, but Kerchak doesn't care what Tarzan thinks and warns him to protect the family by staying away from the humans. Kala tells Tarzan to listen to Kerchak for once, but Tarzan is angry at her because she never told him that there were other creatures in the world who looked like him. At the camp, Jane gives a presentation to her father about Tarzan, describing how she's never seen a man who acts like a gorilla before, and admits that she's falling in love with his eyes because she's never seen eyes quite like his. But Clayton tells Jane to stop with her fantasy because he doesn't believe any of it is real. Suddenly, Tarzan appears right in front of Clayton, shocking him completely. When Jane mentions that Tarzan lives with gorillas, Clayton sees this as an opportunity and asks Tarzan about the gorilla's location. But this doesn't work because Tarzan doesn't understand what Clayton is saying. Jane has an idea and brings Tarzan to a tent where she shows him pictures comparing humans and gorillas, their homes, their appearances, and other differences, so he can easily understand what they want from him. Many days go by, and Tarzan becomes very close to Jane, enjoying all the time they spend together. Clayton complains to Professor Porter that they're wasting too much time building this relationship with Tarzan when their ship could arrive to take them back to England any day. He suggests they should just ask Tarzan directly for what they want. Jane then asks Tarzan to take them to see the gorillas, but even though Tarzan now understands what she's saying, he refuses her request. Soon after, their ship does arrive to take them back to England. Clayton begs the ship's captain to let them stay for 2 more days, but the captain says they can't because the ship would be late arriving at every other port. Tarzan comes to see Jane with a bouquet of flowers for her, but she sadly tells him that they have to return to their home. She asks Tarzan if he would consider coming with her to England. Tarzan says he could visit England for just 1 day and return tomorrow, but Jane explains that's impossible. The journey takes much longer than that. So Tarzan begs Jane to stay here in the jungle with him instead, but she says she can't and runs away from him. Clayton then approaches Tarzan and convinces him that Jane will agree to stay if he takes her to see the gorillas, and Tarzan agrees to do it. He goes to his friend Turk and asks for a favor. He wants Turk to distract Kerchak and lead him away from the nest. Later, Turk and Tana dress up to look like humans, and Kerchak chases after them thinking they're real people. After Kerchak leaves the area, Tarzan brings the humans to the gorilla nest, and they're all excited to finally see the gorillas. However, Clayton secretly marks the location of the nest on his map and says that his dream has finally come true. Soon after, Turk and Tana show up with Kerchak right behind them, still chasing them. When Kerchak sees the humans in his family's sacred nesting area, he immediately attacks Clayton, who pulls out a weapon to defend himself. Tarzan jumps in to stop Kerchak from hurting the humans, and they all manage to escape safely. But Tarzan feels terrible guilt for having to fight against Kerchak and runs away from him. That night, Kala comes to find Tarzan and takes him to the old treehouse where she first found him as a baby. There, Tarzan discovers the truth about his past and learns who his real mother and father were. Kala advises him that whatever he decides to do, he must choose what will make him truly happy. Tarzan then decides to leave with Jane and the others, putting on a suit that once belonged to his father. He tells Kala that no matter where he goes in the world, she will always be his mother. When morning comes, Tarzan leaves with the humans in a boat heading toward their ship. Turk and Tana arrive too late to say goodbye to him one last time, and Turk is angry at Tarzan for leaving them like this without any warning. Once Tarzan gets on the ship, he's welcomed by a group of thugs who have captured Jane and Professor Porter. Tarzan tries to escape, but is quickly captured himself, and he realizes that Clayton has betrayed him in order to capture all the gorillas for his own evil purposes. Back in the jungle, Tantor hears Tarzan's voice calling for help, which makes him think that Tarzan is in serious danger. He immediately grabs Turk, and they rush to help Tarzan. As Clayton heads back toward the jungle, Tantor climbs up the side of the ship and successfully rescues Tarzan from the locked room where he was being held prisoner. Tarzan immediately rushes back to help protect the gorillas. Soon the thugs arrive in the jungle to capture all the gorillas, and just as Clayton is about to kill Kerchak, Tarzan arrives just in time to save him once again. Tarzan leads all the wild animals of the jungle in a big fight against Clayton and his men. Kerchak is grateful to see that Tarzan has come back to help them. When the thugs try to take Kala to their boat, Jane sees what's happening and hurries to stop them. Tarzan comes to fight them off, but during the battle, Clayton's bullet scratches Tarzan's arm. When Kerchak sees that Tarzan is hurt, he immediately goes to attack Clayton. Unfortunately, Clayton shoots Kerchak, which makes Tarzan so furious that he tries to attack Clayton. But Clayton keeps shooting at him, forcing Tarzan to run away. Clayton follows Tarzan up to the top of a tall tree, where Tarzan sneaks up and attacks him from behind. Tarzan takes Clayton's gun away from him, but he refuses to shoot Clayton, saying he's not a cold-blooded killer like him, and breaks the gun into pieces. At that moment, Clayton pulls out his machete to strike at Tarzan. Tarzan easily dodges the machete attack, but loses his balance and falls backward. Clayton follows him, trying to finish him off, but he gets tangled up in the vines. As Clayton tries to cut himself free from the vines, he accidentally hangs himself and dies. Tarzan goes to see Kerchak one last time, and finally, Kerchak accepts him completely as one of the family. Kerchak makes Tarzan the new leader of their clan and asks him to take care of the family. This is also the very first time that Kerchak calls Tarzan his son. Tarzan then stands up proudly as their new leader and leads the gorillas into the jungle. The next morning, Jane says goodbye to Tarzan once again and prepares to continue her journey back home. But when Professor Porter sees how much Jane truly loves Tarzan, he gives her permission to stay in the jungle with him. Jane is so excited that she immediately runs to hug Tarzan, and they kiss each other for the very first time. Professor Porter can't help himself and tells the ship's captain that he and Jane got lost in the jungle, and he decides to stay as well. In the end, Jane and Tarzan live happily ever after together in the jungle, and this concludes the story. And that's the complete story of Tarzan. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe.